Wow, that seemed louder than I expected. Um, welcome, everybody. You are watching Talent Talk, and I am your host, Gary McLean. Thanks for tuning in, as always. And just a reminder that if you haven't done so already, please do go to the Talent Talk YouTube channel and subscribe today. As always, your support's appreciated. And just to let you know that at least for season 4, we are looking to do the same thing for seasons previous. But right now, season 4 is available on podcast mediums such as Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, just to name a few. If you'd like a full list of where you can listen to it, have a checkout of the description details of this episode and previous season 4 episodes. Now, today's guests are a handful of cast and crew from the post-apocalyptic feature Father of Nations, filmed right here in Alberta. It has also recently premiered at the Calgary International Film Festival and has a limited release in select Cineplex theaters across Alberta. So please join me in welcoming director writer Alicia Anderson, writer and star of the film Nathan Horch, cinematographer Daniel Horch, actress and makeup Kyra McPherson, and actress Victoria Pilot. All right, let's bring them all in. Look at that. There we go. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
This is officially the most guests I've had on the show at one time. So
Awesome.
already breaking records.
Yeah.
So thanks for agreeing to come on the show and all that kind of stuff. I've been kind of looking forward to chatting with you guys after I saw the trailer. And my understanding is actually, you know what? Before I even get to the questions, I want to do a quick round of introductions. Tell us a little bit about yourself, because the people need to know who you guys are. So let's start with Nathan.
I'm Nathan Horch. I co-own Thousand Year Films with Alicia, and we produced this film together. I was a writer on the film. Aside from the producer, the writer, I did editing. I was an actor in it, did the music, and pretty involved from beginning to end on this, I think.
Excellent. And then we'll move right on to Alicia.
Okay. Hi. Alicia Anderson. I am the director of the film. I also got to dabble in a few other pieces of the creative endeavors, doing the costumes, and I got to do some makeup as well and helped out with some of the story and a few other things. So when you're independent, you wear many hats, and I think that's kind of the exciting thing about independent film, really, but enjoyed learning so much during the making of this film.
Especially on a feature, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Shorts are one thing, but features, I still have yet to experience that on the mini hat side of things, but getting there. Thank you for that. Let's move on to Daniel.
Hi, I'm Daniel Horch. Cinematographer, camera operator on Father of Nations here. Worked on it for a few years there to get this here off the ground, and did a little bit of editing assisting as well. But that's pretty much me.
Awesome. Thank you. Kyra.
Hi. I'm Kyra. I'm a very proud member of IATSE 212, the makeup department. I'm generally used to working on films as a makeup artist, or I do a lot of education with one beauty brands and developing artists. And this was such a different role for me to kind of slide into as an actor. It's even hard for me to kind of say sometimes, like I'm still not super used to it, but I acted, and I was lucky enough to be Amara in this film, and I love it, and I hope I have many more acting sessions to come.
Yes, and I actually do want to touch on that a bit more, your first experience, and get more on that. But we'll start off with also the introduction of Victoria here.
Hi, so I'm Victoria. Nate and Alicia brought me on to Father of Nations to be the production manager and assistant director originally. So I started in those roles, and then as we progressed, I helped decorate sets, which was amazing, an absolute joy to build some of those really fun sets. And then I took on a cast role, the role of Riker, which was an absolute pleasure as well. And one of my favorite parts of working on this film was directing our amazing background. I don't think this film would have been the same without their hard work and dedication. So that was a joy.
Awesome, thank you. And how long has this been kind of in the making? This film? It's been a while, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Anybody can answer, by the way. Feel free to cut each other
Yeah.
off.
Okay.
like it was the first concept came probably about 12 years ago, and that's when I wrote the first draft. And I mean, you kind of set that aside and you let it breathe and you develop over years, and especially because we were independent, it's not like it's an easy thing just to get off the ground. And it took time, and it probably, I would say though, Alicia, what year was it that we kind of started Thousand Year Films now?
2015.
2015 is probably where it really started to get the momentum, and we started to develop it a lot more. And I mean, it's gone through tons of iterations, and it due to a whole lot of impacts and things beyond our control a lot of the time. But it's been a long time in the making, and it took a long time to make, and we're really happy that it's finally out now. I'm sure we'll get into a bunch of the details in this, but long time.
Yeah, so a long time in the making. What was the motivation like behind the story itself? Was there something like where did the story, I guess, come from?
I think what we were doing, we wanted to just explore what it would be like to be, if you were facing extinction, what it would be like at the end of all things. And so we've always felt, no matter how it kind of took shape, we always wanted it to be kind of a deep meditation and, exploration of these questions of life and, dealing with grief and things that you would try to make sense of it all. And so it was always a very deeply thoughtful movie, one for us, one that was kind of cathartic in that way, one that was meant to be thought-provoking and dealing with some more philosophical issues and existential stuff. So even though it's gone through different iterations, that was always really the core of what we were trying to explore.
Just to add to that, part of that scope that happened was as we were developing it and the themes in the story, we realized that we wanted to explore those themes from different perspectives. And in order to do that, there was additional scenarios and characters that we wanted to utilize in order to tell the story from those different perspectives. So out of necessity of really trying to tell the story in a more robust way, it became bigger and grander and bloomed, really.
And do you guys consider this a religious film in any way?
I would say more of a spiritual film. Like we address the idea of God, and we felt that was an important thing to do in, if you were facing complete death and the world is completely gone and there's almost nothing left and you might be the last, it felt really untruthful for us, in a way that wouldn't be part of the discussion. And was there something more? Was there a greater purpose? Is there something more after this? And is there a God? Does he care? Is he not? Is it irrelevant? It just felt like it was kind of part of the fabric of what we were doing, and not necessarily like here's a religious movie, but I mean, the exploration of faith. And in a lot of ways, I think there's different denominations around the world and different variants of faith. And it doesn't specifically, name any of them, but it was definitely part of the fabric of it. I think was definitely more of a spiritual journey, a wrestle with God. And even though it deals with faith, I think it's one that, people who are not of faith can still get stuff out of. And that's the feedback I've heard from people too, who are not of faith too, is that it was even more about hope in a lot of ways. And, that wrestle of trying to make sense of things.
There is a repeating theme throughout that says, you see what you want to see.
I was going to say, like, it seems like you guys have been able to accomplish that sense of, depending who the person is watching, they're going to pull that out of the film, right? So everybody gets to pull out their own little piece of belief or sense of spirituality or self-discovery. Like, it just seems like you've been able to accomplish that, which is kudos, because that's not an easy thing to do.
It's a tough one. Yeah.
Yeah. And just out of curiosity, are any of you religious at all? Like, and if you are, did that kind of play into any of your development of this? And you don't have to answer that if you don't want to.
That's awesome. I've been through all different kinds of faiths or experiences or journeys. It depends. At the end of all of these different things that I've explored, for Kyra, I just sort of feel like Like I'm a very spiritual person, but I think it's I maybe relate in more of the transcendentalist kind of way, I suppose. I relate to it a little bit differently, but I think, I think it's maybe the same energy. It's the same universal thing we all share, but it's like through a different language or a different region or, something like that. But I'm always, growing and changing and figuring things out, right? But the more I do learn, I realize I know like nothing. I know nothing.
Start calling you Jon Snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daniel, were you going to say something there?
Yeah, like like I'm personally a Christian myself. Like, and I don't know if like that comes through cinematography much, but like, I really did love and enjoy, just capturing a lot of the beauty that was out there, just like a lot of the natural beauty, and just depicting that, especially like in the Badlands and such. Like, I guess each person will take different things away from what they see through the lens of the camera there. For me, there's definitely some pretty good moments for sure.
Kyra, I did want to go back to you really quick because you were talking about your spirituality and everything else, and the fact that this is actually your first acting role. I'm kind of curious as to what you did to find your calm center, if you will, because it must have been a different experience, I'm sure.
This was a wildly different experience. Like it was like it's so cool, and it's interesting to tell the story from a different way, versus what I'm used to. But I actually was very, very fortunate. This is one of those timing things, or it could be a blessing depending on what you look at. But we were all filming one day in Stavely. And this is where I met Nathan and Alicia, actually. And we were working on a film with Robert Cuffley, Bright Hill Road. And happenstance, they just needed a Kyra for the moment. And, I had ended up casually in a commercial by accident, where I had kind of done these things throughout high school or whatever it was. And I, did well enough that they were like, hey, would you like to chat about this and maybe explore it, So right then and there, I kind of felt a little bit vulnerable because I was like, okay, well, they've already seen me do something. So for that takes out like the guest, like I'm nervous or whatever. They've already kind of seen me do something. And that was like the biggest thing. I used to think singing was the most vulnerable thing you could do until I tried acting, because it's just so raw. And I really, I've kind of learned, and maybe for myself, but like I don't always like the body doesn't always know what feelings are yours all the time, right? Because if you're in an adrenaline situation, you're just you're pumping it, right? And so to center myself, really, really good question was, I had playlists that I would make to try to get into more of her headspace, because I'm not as cool as Amara. I'm not like, I can't. Kudos to the crew and like the editing, because I'm like just a newborn deer, like fawning around, like trying to be cool and stuff, but they did an excellent job. But having that as a first experience, I felt very safe. They gave me room to dig in deep. They figured out how to direct me, if that makes sense. Like, I know that there's, a way to do it, but I think like when you take the time to kind of tap in and figure out, okay, this is what best works here. And then also giving me a little bit of room to push back and kind of explore that space when I didn't even technically, I didn't even feel like I had earned it yet as an actor. They still gave me full capacity to explore this space that they empowered me to, when I think a lot of times people would have been like, what are you doing, makeup artist? Sit down, do what we tells you, So I can't really ask for a better experience in that way, but it was super challenging. It was very demanding. It was everything I would do again.
Casting Kyra was my ask. And oftentimes what you want to do is cast close to the the energy of the character that you're wanting to portray. And although you're different from that character, you carry yourself, you have an energy that I knew would read in the way that we needed Amara to come across. And yeah, I recognized that, and I was so excited when you said you'd give it a shot. And I mean, I think that process, there was a process that you had to go through where you were shedding the being part of the crew and
was
being a makeup artist and all of that. And there was that transition period into being an actor and being able to trust that, trust the crew to capture everything and just let go. And I think I for anybody that's moving from one position or role, especially from behind to in front of the camera, I think there's that process that has to happen. And once that actualized, it was absolutely amazing to see you fully step into your abilities as an actor, and the performances that you were able to give, and the places that you could access. Just it comes across so authentically and so connected with the other actors in the scenes. And
That-
it's just beautiful.
That's what made it a good experience. The fact that I could like literally right in that moment be like, okay, like I'm not even sure how I was Amara, but I sure could relate to her in the moment. But the fact that like just letting go and trusting that, and like that's what made it such a good experience. That's like such a great active example right there.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
And people love your character. I hear tons and tons of good feedback about how
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
that they dig you in the movie.
Cool.
And for Victoria and your character Riker, right? I think.
Riker, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the character itself, and also maybe a little bit of how you tied your personality?
Yeah, so my experience, like my character is a little smaller. So my main focus when I was on the film was being the assistant director and production manager, and helping build sets on the day or a couple days beforehand. And it was, I think, halfway through the summer last year that Nate and Alicia realized that they wanted to bring this character back into the film. And they approached me and they asked me if I wanted to take on the role of Riker as well. And I was like, yes, dream come true, hands down. I'm so excited. So Riker, she is kind of Knox's right-hand man. Knox is one of the other main characters that you'll see in the film. So I kind of am the character that helps Knox out in his shop. At the time, I had a shaved head, and that was really fun to embrace that. That was my first and only role that I had when I had my shaved head, and that was pretty special and powerful for me to kind of just embrace, the shaved head and kind of like a tougher side of myself, which I have. I would say I took my more tomboy, rough and tough side and focused it into Riker. She's hardworking and helpful, and yeah.
For yourself, Victoria, like I know you've kind of delved into a few different roles as well, not just with this film, but in general.
Yeah.
You've done some producing, you've done some directing. Do you have a favorite role or position?
Ooh, that's a tough one. In a sense, I think I like producing, like being on the ground as a producer. Like I really love helping tie all the little pieces together, or I guess production manager, in a sense where I can help out in a bunch of different areas and help a story kind of button together and come to life. I think as a producer, like there's different types of producing. And my experience is a bit more of the creative side of producing. And I really, really enjoy that. So from like helping find locations or helping manage locations to connecting with all the cast and crew and organizing the schedule, and then just being there on the day and anything I can help out. That's how I started decorating sets and thrifting. I did a lot of thrifting. Me and Nate had some great thrift store experiences together, just like collecting all the pieces that needed to be there. And I think on a smaller set with less people, you take on a lot more, and I really enjoy that. It's something that when I work on the union shows, I have to like remind myself, like, nope, you just got one lane here. Like, you're not doing everything else. So yeah.
So Nathan, you did the editing as well, right?
I did, yeah.
How difficult do you find trying to balance, who gets how much screen time?
I don't really think about it in that terms. This was an exceptionally hard movie to edit. I mean, first off, we had like 350 hours of footage, which is like an extreme amount. That's like on some big Hollywood productions, like the amount that they would shoot on like a Mad Max or something. So just going through it all was ridiculous. I mean, some of that is like multiple takes, obviously. And, but I mean, we really had enough that we could put together, like a 4.5 hour to 5 hour story here. And there's enough content for that. But unless it gets released as a limited series, there's just no way you can do that in a feature film. And I mean, it's how we got to this edit is probably a whole other long discussion and stuff like that. But, you just have to start going, and you try and find the core themes of what you're exploring. And, at some point, we're always fighting runtime, and we got it down to 2:13. I think like the 2:45 is like a really great version that really kind of, you get the most context of everything. I think there's so many great scenes that are on the cutting room floor, but when you're dealing with distribution and exhibitionists who are going to be showing the film, you have to get it down to that. And at some point it was literally like, there's like 4 kneecaps in front of you, and you're going to pick which one you're going to club, because you're not removing things because they're not serving a purpose. You know that something's going to get hurt in the film because of it. But we have no choice. But it was really important to us to keep the depth of it, to keep the existential debate in it between the characters. And you find things that try and, I guess, highlight the context of what they're discussing and what they're going through in ways that you can show it, as best you can. There are things definitely in it, that if given a little more time, or both in actual editing time or in runtime, I think all of us would love to do, but we still just try to make the most beautiful movie that we can. And there's a million factors that, that go into every scene, what makes it and what doesn't. And sometimes it's flow. Sometimes you hit milestones and you're like, once we cross this milestone, we can't go back. And because the movie is out of chronological order for anyone who's seen it, it's kind of a mosaic, just like our poster is a mosaic of a face. We wanted it to feel like all these thoughts, because if you're at the end and you are laying there and you're the last person on earth, I think we treated it in a lot of ways as if your mind would go on these tangents, almost like a free association of thought in some ways, in these thought patterns. And we tried to follow those as it would go. And so you jump around, you jump through memories, you jump through themes, you jump through issues that they're working with, and hopefully it all comes together in a beautiful way. Was our goal, but it was an exceptionally hard movie to edit.
Let's just explain to the viewers a little bit about your character as Jacob,
Mm-hmm.
and who he was, and the journey he kind of went through, because I think that plays into some of the editing you probably had to do as well.
Yeah, I mean, Jacob. So when Alicia said he's a man of faith, a lot of movies will have characters that, when they wrestle with faith, often it's someone who has doubts, and then, something happens and they believe, or they are a believer, then something horrific happens and then they lose their faith. And it's kind of like this black and white, swing that we found. But we wanted to do something a little different that I haven't seen in very few movies, if any, but I think the true wrestle with faith that probably a lot of people have. I don't believe if people are of faith in a lot of religions, to me, I don't fully believe if you never had a moment where you're unsure of it in some capacity. And we wanted to have a character that had some form of experience that in his interpretation, he kind of had to believe there was a God in it. But then the wrestle with it to try and make sense of like, well, there's all this loss, there's all this pain, there's no hope on this earth. And, kind of that wrestle that you would have with him. And sometimes it's anger, sometimes something happens and if you did believe in God, you'd have to ascribe the gratitude towards it. And we wanted to capture that wrestle in a lot of ways. So that's kind of how we did it and throughout a lot of it. And that was kind of the core of trying to portray Jacob, was that wrestle.
The question was the attention to detail, to the smallest detail of the costume, was incredible. Were you inspired by anything?
Inspired by anything? I think it was about trying to be true to the situation and the world. So everything is, there's no shopping, there's no industry left. You have the clothes on your back. A lot of things have been rated already. Very few wardrobe changes. So things had to be worn threadbare. And I used a lot of layering because if you only have certain pieces, you would wear all of your 3 shirts if it's cold out. And so just trying to look like the clothes were functional and that they really were their last clothes on their back. So we had distressing parties where everyone would grab a piece of clothing and take a piece of sandpaper or some weird filing thing and any kind of tool and just distress. So anytime we had more characters added, we had to do this. When the background came in, we had quite a few background. And that was in a garage at our home base. We had, several people just destroying clothing and scuffing shoes, everything to really make it feel very worn.
Mm-hmm. And we also to comment on what she was saying with the different layers, not everything fits perfectly either. Like I've got this one sweater that she found that's like huge on me. I lost a bunch of weight and I kind of look like a chubby guy in some scenes because it's so big with the layers. But then there's like this coat over top of it that is probably a size or two too small. So it's like tight and it constricts, and then you have these like big poofy things coming out. But it's what you would find. You would salvage these things in the world, and it looks cool. But
yeah, I wanted to add to Ibrahim, one of the other characters. I had a vision for the jacket that he would wear. And literally I said to Nathan, I was like, I want you to go out and I need a woman's overcoat, like a long coat that a woman would wear like in the 80s to dress up. And he found that coat at Value Village or something like that. And
Goodwill.
we tore it up. Goodwill. Yeah. And it was absolutely perfect. So he's wearing this woman's coat. His pants, Ibrahim's pants were very distressed, and we used pieces of suit pants to make patches in his cargo pants. His daughter, Abidemi, wore the suit jacket that went with the pants that were so there was also some backstory with the wardrobe. So his backstory is that he owned a business. He was a businessman. And so we gave him... Yeah, deleted scene. Yeah, we gave him these elements of being a businessman, being his wardrobe, but now it's nearly unrecognizable because he's had to tear it up like his life is in pieces to make it functional for the world that he lives in now.
I kind of want to get into the actual making of it in terms of finances, if you will. Do you guys mind sharing what your budget was?
It was $500,000.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, because of course Alberta is full of independent filmmakers, and obviously you don't have to give details or anything, but was there a certain path you went to try and raise that, or?
We did have the AMPG, so the Alberta Media Fund. was part of our financing. The majority of it was financed by Thousand Year Films. And then we had a small portion that was independent investors.
Mhm.
And with it being a lengthy in the making kind of film, I'm assuming there must have been a lot of private investment to even get this off the ground as well. Funny enough, the guest I just had recently on Saturday, there was something he was talking about because he's a documentary filmmaker. I don't know if you guys have heard of Adam Scorgie, but he was talking about the same thing. Like his first documentary, he literally put a second mortgage on the house and financed it all personally just to get it off the ground, and it worked out for him. I mean, he took the risk; it worked, and now he's doing documentaries on Danny Trejo and Dolph Lundgren and all these other people. So yeah, it's definitely worked out for him. And I'm just wondering if you guys are feeling that this might be that opportunity for you as well. Are you?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely, as Thousand Year Films was the majority financer on this, and Nathan and I own that company, we definitely have some skin in the game. So, yeah, I mean, we did make it over a few years. One thing that we didn't have when we started was our entire budget. So that was part of the grind to make this film. Is we did it when we were able to. We would have preferred, as I'm sure everyone would, to have your whole budget, all tied up in a nice bow and a really fat bank account. But that's not always the reality when you're independent. So there's definitely sacrifices that you make for something that you believe in passionately and want to do. So and that's my advice to other independent filmmakers: is not all of the circumstances are going to be ideal, but if you feel that pull to go, just do it. Do what you can do with what you have.
I don't want to necessarily give the advice, though, to tell everyone to go take a second mortgage out.
No,
I don't want to be responsible for that.
Yeah.
for the record, we didn't do that either. But.
Hey,
No,
know
that's
what you're doing, and be wise. But
calculated risks. Yeah.
but, so with what Alicia's saying, though, on that, because we didn't have it and because we had to chip away, it definitely shaped the movie in ways that we didn't expect. There's always hurdles for us to overcome. And I think, if we had all the funding up front, it would probably look very different. But, as time goes, it's really difficult to keep a project of this scale sustained like that. And sometimes things change, and for a whole number of reasons, and you have to adapt. And but also at the plus side, we were able to do some things where we got a lot of different seasons, and we were able to get a lot of different locations. And so it added a beautiful aesthetic to the film as well. That is a positive, but it's definitely a give and take, and it's what had to happen on this movie. It's not how we want to make our next movie. I don't think anyone on here is like, hey, yeah, let's take 5 years to make the next one.
And the other thing that I would love to say is that we received a lot of support from the community, which the majority of the film is filmed in Hilda, Alberta.
Mhm.
And a lot of the locations and properties were donated. People made us meals. We just felt like, the adopted children of the people of Hilda. And so they really embraced us in that community. We're happy to have us there. We were happy to be there. And this movie would not have happened without them. And that was a significant piece of, it's not the financing of it, but it's the enabling the production to happen piece.
Absolutely. It's all those little things that help, right? And I've always been a big advocate of the community here in Alberta. I've always felt it was a really tight, everybody's willing to help where they can if needed. I don't know. That's been my experience anyway. So.
I agree.
Yeah, nothing but good things to say about them.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, and I'm just going to give that shout out to Keep Alberta Rolling, because they're doing a lot for that as well. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Very grateful to them and their organization. Amazing.
Yes. Absolutely. So is there a sequel in the making?
When you watch the film,
Or
I don't
prequel?
know.
Prequel. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely enough. The characters are all very robust. They all have stories that are very intriguing of how they came to be in this situation, where they came from, how this last settlement came to be. It is a world that we lived in for a long time, and there is. I mean, Nathan says we could do like a 4.5 hour movie. That would be, a lot of, maybe it's a side story or prequel. I don't know, stuff that we filmed, but nothing planned right now. We'll see what people want after,
And we'd have to find another writer
Yeah.
because I've moved on.
So when you, because I'm assuming you were like all at the premiere for at SIF or whatever the case was.
Yeah.
So, and I know we all do this as filmmakers, waiting for the reaction of the audience and getting a sense of what they felt. What were your opinions of the reactions? Did you get the reactions you were expecting, or?
I felt like an imposter.
My mom gave Daniel a shoulder rub after the film because she loved cinematography so much. She was behind Daniel and she was just like, "Good job! That was amazing." I was like, "Oh my god!"
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, well, you got a
Numb.
shoulder rub from my mom. She loved
that
her
night was
cinematography
pretty
so
surreal.
much.
I don't remember, like, not in an intoxicated way, but it is. There's a lot of body and brain drugs going on when you are for so many years. I can't imagine Nathan and Alicia holding on to that, and then to finally that release, heavy.
Even for me, when I was only with them for a year, and I think I was emotionally almost numb throughout most of the movie for the first time. And then the credits started rolling and I just started bawling. It was just like this emotional release. And I was just like, I can't believe that I was a part of this. I can't believe that I got to be here for this experience, and that this is the end, but also the beginning, which is kind of a theme in the movie as well. And it just really hit me. And then I have to say, like, you have to see it at least once more. I've seen it 4 times now, and each time I've had like a different emotional experience, or I was able to watch it as a filmmaker than as an audience member. Sometimes it hit me even more emotionally. But I think the first time you just get blown away by Dan's cinematography, which you have to talk about. It's insane. It's like, look behind you. That picture behind Dan is a snapshot from the film, like absolutely gorgeous. And then it's the most amazing music that Nate composed. And then these incredible voiceovers, and then the stunning performances. So I think each time you delve into a deeper level, and you experience each part a little more, and you can process it more. So yeah, my advice to everyone is go see it a few times, because it's not a one-watch movie, and go see it in theaters, because this is a big screen, 10 speakers cinema kind of movie.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a almost without fail the consistent feedback that a lot of people, not even just like us asking, but we see posts online, and people have almost always said the second viewing is even better because the movie's, out of order. It's a big sensory overload. Like, it's a wild movie. It's like, it's abstract. It's like loud, there's so much going on. It's very deep. It's hard to absorb it all, and so I think once you see and kind of understand the parts on that second viewing, you just see the details and the thematic connections a little more. And I think almost without fail, I've heard a lot personally of people messaging, and also just seeing posting, is that the second time, the third time, people are getting more and more out of it. And I mean, that means a lot to me, because I think it shows that it's not one that can just be viewed at a surface level.
And to be honest, like the couple people I've talked to outside the film itself has said the same thing to me. They're like, I've seen it, but I need to go see it again. And I was like, oh, great. So,
And
Right.
it was even the same for me, right? And I shot pretty much everything. And I needed a second view to like have it sink in even that much more. It was, yeah.
And it's got to be so different, right? Because of course, like you said, you were there for pretty much for every shot,
Mhm.
but then to see it all put together at the final end, right? Like I don't know, it's got to be surreal in a way at some point.
Yeah, the premiere is definitely a night I'll never forget. Yeah, that was a lot of years of work, and
Yeah.
you know, like a lot of years too, of like, you know, telling, you know, friends, family, people I meet, yeah, like shooting a movie and stuff, and getting these questions. Oh, when's it going to be out? I'm like, eventually, we'll get there. There was a little bit of that going on, but yeah, these last few months leading up to the premiere, I was finally able to, you know, unleash my excitement and start telling people more about what I've been doing, and finally being able to show them, you know, sort of my coming out party as a cinematographer. So going back to some of the movements that there were, you know, like especially in the Badlands, a little bit in Haven as well, there were just times we would just get out on set and, you know, the characters just had to just sort of be thinking about something or be in a certain mindset, and like that was literally what they were doing. No specific shot list or anything. And you know, Alicia and I would like, Alicia would come to me, communicate to me like what we're going for, what we're trying to show here, what we're trying to portray. And you know, like with how much we've sort of been working together here, you know, I just go out and capture that, right? Like in, you know, and try and just find the beauty, but find those moments too, and find, you know, the frames and shots that, you know, bring out the themes of that movement, you know, whether it's, you know, themes of gratitude or themes of despair. You know, it's, for some people that may not be a lot to go off of, but just for the way Alicia and I were able to work together, that was enough, you know, keeping it simple and keeping it beautiful.
What I'd like to do here is I'd like to show the trailer, and then after the trailer, if I could get from each of you kind of your most memorable moment from the filming time frame.
Totally.
So the trailer gives you a little bit of time to think about that.
Should have made a longer trailer.
Yeah,
Yeah, come on, Nate.
not just a teaser. No. So we'll get this party started with the trailer, and just for the folks that might be listening on podcast later, if you want to actually watch the trailer, just do a quick search in YouTube for Father of Nations trailer or official trailer, and you will find it and have a peek at it because it's great. And of course, if you're in the Alberta region and it's still in theaters when you listen to this, go check it out. Here we go.
Firelight, be the ignite, the ghosts of who we used to be. Stand tall, till death do us fall. Cry no tears for me.
Who gave us the power to drink up the sea? What did we do when we unchained the earth from its sun?
Please come back to me.
Where is it going now? Where are we going now? Away from all suns.
Jacob,
Are we not plunged continually into an abyss of nothingness? God is dead, and we have killed him.
I've been sent to bring you back.
we don't know that this is the end.
What are these temples now? If not but tombs and sepulchres of God.
Watching that trailer a second time, brilliant. From everybody there. There's another comment I was going to make, but my Alzheimer's is kicking in. All right. Well, on that note, let's make the round robin of most memorable moments on set.
How about a really funny moment, actually?
Awesome.
I swear I heard Alicia say action, and Daniel was rolling. So I'm confident that this was an actual take. But we were filming in the Badlands, and I was supposed to be setting up the pup tent with Ed, who played Ibrahim. And I don't know if the other two actors didn't hear this or know we were filming, but like I'm trying to set it up. Lindsay, who played Soleil, she's like on her phone texting. Like her back was to the camera, so Alicia didn't know, but she's like doing that. Ed is like doing weird stuff. He's got like his machete, and he's like smelling it. And I'm trying to build this pup tent, like trying to get him to help me to build it, and he's not doing anything. He's like smelling. He's got his like toucan funny, and like then he like licks it. Like there was like some old like blood stains on it. I guess I asked him like wanting to see if they still had a smell or taste, but eventually I just got super frustrated, like tossed the tent and walked off, and then we hear cut, and then Ed's like, "Oh, what? We're rolling." So I don't know how the other two didn't hear this, but it was like. It was really funny. Like it felt like a real moment where I'm trying to set up tent and no one is helping, and I just was like, ah.
Me and Alicia were at the monitor being like, "What is happening right now?"
I'll just talk about some of the elements that we shot in. Like some of the winter scenes that we shot in. Like it was cold. Like some of those days were like I don't know -20 plus a prairie wind, right?
Yeah.
Some of our camera batteries, depleting at 2 times the speed, 3 times the speed. And then on the flip side, hiking into the Badlands and some of those days that we had out there, +40 on a couple of them. We shot in a vast array of like temperatures and, terrains. Like we had to hike in quite a ways for some of those Badlands shots there as well. The sand dunes as well. I think one of the days was so hot that one of our batteries melted. So there was a wide range of tough obstacles and elements to overcome there.
I remember us walking out. Sorry, Dan, and it was so hot, and you were holding on to the steady cam or something, the monopod. I don't remember.
Yeah,
but you're like, why don't they make this gear in white? Everything's black and absorbing the heat, and it's so hot on my hands, and he's just like burning his hands the whole time.
Or the Dana dolly rails, which are just metal.
Yeah.
Sun reflecting off of just steel, metal, whatever it is. One other quick one, if we got time. There's a scene in there where one of the characters is having a nightmare. One of the takes, Alicia calls action. I start my camera movement. The guy gives a little twitch, sort of tracking up his body, get to his face, sort of holding there, and just crickets. Like nothing's happening. We're waiting like 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Alicia calls cut. He opens his eyes. He's like, were we rolling? I think I fell asleep.
Okay, so one of the questions I kind of had is like right now, as we've kind of talked about, it's doing kind of a limited circuit through the Cineplex theaters in Alberta. What's the goal afterwards?
In terms of Father of Nations?
Yes.
So right now we just got an extension for another week at Cineplex, so that was fantastic news. So grateful for everybody supporting local film and going back and seeing it 3 times. So that's part of our master plan, right? Make a movie they have to see 3 times in the theater. I know we would love to extend the theatrical run and US international, maybe more films here or for more theaters. We're not sure. We're just taking it as it comes. Eventually I'm sure it'll do on demand and hopefully streaming and all the things. So we're kind of in that process right now and going through it and learning a ton. So yeah,
thank you guys so much. I think we'll kind of wrap it up there. Honestly, I'm as I've been kind of progressing through this episode, I've been trying to think, okay, where am I going to cut out here? So I'm in your shoes right now, Nathan. I don't know what to cut at this point.
You have 5 kneecaps to club here.
Yeah, going down.
He's such a father of nations here.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thank you guys so much for joining the show here and talking about the film and yourselves and the stories. They're all great. I wish you guys the best of luck, and I'm definitely gonna have to make a point of checking that out maybe this weekend.
Amazing.
Awesome.
So, Gary, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for
No
so
worries.
Thanks, Gary.